Hi guys, I am Rhonda with Sawgrass. Thank you so much for joining us today for Learn with Sawgrass. I'm really excited to have you all here, and then anyone who's watching this recording later. I'm really glad to have you because today I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm extremely passionate about, and that's about the Sawgrass Advantage. So why Sawgrass is the best solution for sublimation printer. And then secondly, once you have that Sawgrass printer, what are some things, some tips and tricks that I can tell you from my years of working here to kind of help you? So we'll go ahead and tell you. Let me go ahead and do this. I will go ahead and tell you that I am not fully responsible for all of the information I'm going to give you today. I had asked some questions of our director of R&D, Alex Tokarev, a while back, and we've just never got to sit down and really have the conversation that I wanted to do to record. So I kind of pulled from some of his answers for this today. So I know a lot about sublimation, but he knows a lot more. And about our ink specifically. So there's some stuff that I've got from him. So I just want to go ahead and give Alex complete credit for parts of this. And I think when you hear the words, you'll know which ones belong to Alex and which ones belong to me. And so I think a great place to start is to tell you a little bit about myself. I am Rhonda. I am the education manager here at Sawgrass, and I just celebrated my 6-year anniversary a few weeks ago. And so I've been with the company for 6 years now. I did start out on the care team. So a lot of what I know is from dealing directly with customers there. I also started the onboarding program that we have. And so I've talked to a lot of customers. So a lot of the information I have is just gleaned, and a lot of the tips and tricks are just what I've learned from helping customers over the years. So hopefully this session will be helpful for you. Please feel free to ask questions and I'll be glad to pull those up and answer them as we go. So when you are looking at a sublimation printer, and it's kind of funny because I know everyone here in the actual meeting probably already has a Sawgrass system. But what I've realized from looking at what people say, whether it's in tickets or whether it's what they say on social media, is that a lot of people don't get the full picture of what separates Sawgrass from the rest of the market. So I want to go through that today, not only for our users to help you make better use of the system that you have, but for anyone who may potentially want to buy a Sawgrass system in the future as well. And so I want to start with really what the heart of Sawgrass is, and that's going to be our printers and our inks. But I want to touch on some of the other components as well. So the first thing to understand about the Sawgrass printers, about the SG500 and the SG1000, is they are purpose-built for sublimation. So what does that mean? That means they're not an inkjet printer that was built for regular inkjet printing, home printing. It was specifically built for sublimation. So what difference does that make? Well, the first difference that's going to make is there are features built in to help the sublimation ink from clogging in the system. Now, is this foolproof? No, of course it's not. There are still times where clogs are going to happen. But the benefit of our system and our purpose-built printers is that, first of all, that's that self-maintenance cycle that the printer does. So that self-maintenance cycle that it does every 12 hours or so that you're not using the printer, that moves just a fraction of a percentage of ink through the printer. People ask me all the time, can I turn that off? It's using ink. Yes, it's using ink, but it really needs to. These are production printers. Sublimation ink should not sit in the print lines any longer than you can help. And that's why that's there, to help you prevent clogs and to help keep that ink moving through. We also have, that's why our firmware is so important. There are adjustments that have been made to the firmware from a normal inkjet printer so that we are guaranteeing that you're getting the best quality possible. because sublimation ink doesn't work like inkjet ink. That's why your print and your press looks so differently. Sublimation ink is made to be heated. It is made to be pressed. It's a little bit different than a regular ink, and that's why it's so important that you do have that in place. I'm realizing that I can't see if you ask a question, so that's why I'm changing things around a little bit. The next thing to understand is that I'm going to get more into detail on this in just a minute, but our inks are manufactured by us. I know that one of our customers got to visit us recently, and she was surprised by that. We do make our inks right here in this building. Right on the other side of that wall, actually, is where our inks are manufactured. And so we have a good relationship between the ink and the printer. They are calibrated to work together, and they are made to work together. So I told you I was going to use some big words that you know are not going to come from me. The first one's going to be viscosity. So viscosity is going to be the resistance to movement when a liquid is flowing. So when we talk about water, water flows pretty easily, right? There's not a lot of resistance there. It just goes. So water is going to have a very low viscosity. When we talk about honey, honey is going to have a very high viscosity. It takes a lot more to get it moving and to get it going. Now, Sawgrass ink, our Sublijet UHG ink, is going to be somewhere in between. It is very gel-like in the way it moves. Now, please don't confuse that. It is water-based. There are no chemical solvents in there. It's one of the reasons why it's better for the environment. It is a water-based ink, but it has gel-like properties. So it is one where the viscosity is high enough that it doesn't easily flow like water, but it is going to flow easier than honey. It's somewhere in between. So this is why it is so important that you use genuine Sawgrass inks in your printer, because our ink viscosity and our print head are aligned. They are calibrated to go together. Anything else we cannot guarantee is going to be a similar enough viscosity, and it's either going to be a higher viscosity or a lower viscosity, and therefore is more likely to clog and to damage and basically kill your print head. So that's why it's so important to us that you use our full solution, that you're using both the Sawgrass ink with the Sawgrass printer, because that ink is specially formulated for that print head, and it is calibrated for those nozzles. We cannot say that about any other ink that you may use in our printer. The only one that we can guarantee your results are going to be ours. Now, again, do you occasionally get clogs? Yes. We're going to talk about our support team in just a little bit. But that is why that is so important in there. Now, I did say that our inks are manufactured here in Charleston. And what I mean when I say that is we get the raw materials, we get all of those raw materials, we mix them, we process them, and it goes all the way from the raw materials to the ink going into the cartridge right behind me. If you ever see our building from the outside, it's deceptively small. It's actually very large, and the entire ink process happens here. So what that means to you as the user is that we control every piece of the quality. We quality check after every step. Now, what are we quality checking against? We're quality checking against the ink that we made 3 years ago, against our standard of ink. So every batch is consistent. Batch to batch consistency. How do we do that? We quality check every step of the way. If it's outside of the tolerance, we go back and we try to fix it. Can't fix it, we start over. But we quality check throughout the process. We stand by our ink told you this is something I was going to be passionate about. It's what we're talking about today. And we are all very passionate here. We work very hard to make sure that whether you bought ink today or whether you bought ink 3 years ago and used it, that ink consistency is good, or that ink is going to be exactly the same and perform the same way. That's kind of our promise to you. I can't say that about anyone else, and I definitely can't say that about third-party solutions. Most of those are produced somewhere else and then are put into cartridges. So no one really knows what that quality looks like. And it's definitely not up to the standards that we're going to keep throughout the process. So our quality is very important to us. We actually keep all of our ink. We keep a sample of it. So if you were to come to me next year about ink that was manufactured last year, we still have a sample of that. We can check that ink and see if we missed something by any chance. Because at the end of the day, we're humans, something can happen, but we always have the ink to check it against because we believe that much in our quality and making sure that the product you get is going to work. We are pretty confident at all times that our ink is not going to cause a problem in that print head. Another reason why we say use our solution in our printer is because we know the quality and we know that there's no impurities or anything else in that ink that's going to make it either not perform well or damage that print head. And that's another reason why we're so certain on use our ink in our printer. It's a solution that's meant to go together. Now, our solution doesn't stop at the ink and the printer. One of the things you're going to see is there is that 2-year warranty. So you do have a 2-year warranty on your printer, and that is from the date of purchase. We do offer lifetime support. So even when that warranty has expired, you can still come to our support team and they're going to be glad to help you and assist you. So we're going to look at our software suite in a minute, and I'm going to show you where you can get to our support team as well, because I know sometimes that's a little bit of a problem. But then the other thing we offer is education. So we offer these classes. You may notice soon that we may be offering more classes per week. So you're going to see us offering lots of classes for you. We do have our academy. Now, I will go ahead and tell you a little bit of a secret. Well, it's not a secret, but it's a little pre-announcement that you get today. We are going to move the academy to YouTube. So all of these videos are going to be available on YouTube for you to learn and see. We have remade some of that content. You're going to be seeing that on there soon. You see all of these Learn with Sawgrass sessions are going to be on YouTube as well. And then Rhodes is working on a brand new section for us called Quick Tips. So you're going to see your first quick tip premiere a little bit later on today in our YouTube channel. So that's one spot you can go. But let's look at some other things you can do as well. All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about our support team. I said that I started on our care team here. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I did tell you that ink production is on that side of me. Well, our support team is on that side of me. So they are all here. They sit right around me, and they are always going to be glad to assist you when you have a problem. Now, I know occasionally there is going to be reasons why it may take a little bit longer for them to get back to you, but please know we do have processes and procedures to make sure that all those tickets get touched as quickly as possible. If you are not seeing a response, please check your spam and your junk folders. Sometimes those do get stuck there and you do need to release them, but please know that they are going to respond to you. And any of us are always willing to check and see where your ticket is if there's ever an issue. So let's start with support. I am on sawgrassinc.com. One of the things you're going to see is there is a need help button right here at the bottom. By clicking on that, I am able to ask questions and get assistance. And then once I have asked those questions, I can open a ticket there too. So it's going to help me with all of that. And I am able to get help. And I'm going to go ahead and close that and close this in. As you can see, I even sometimes do fake tickets with fake serial numbers on printers just to check things out. So other places that you can go on our website for assistance is going to be, let me go back to the front just so you can see me go there. I'm going to click on our Learn menu. Near and dear to my heart, we do have Get Started. So if you are new and you are installing your printer, this is where you are going to come to get your software downloads. But also, this is where you can set up an onboarding session. So if you've never done an onboarding session with us, that's a really good thing to do that is going to be very helpful for you. One of my colleagues, Rhodes, does those. You will be able to go in. It is a group session here in the US, but you are able to go into that session and he will teach you all about getting started, getting your printer set up, where to find those resources that you need. And those are a big help. So go ahead and sign up for one of those if you've not. Also under your Learn section, you will see that that is where you can sign up for these workshops. We do these workshops every week, every Wednesday. We do rotate. Sometimes it's me and then sometimes it is Kesley. Kesley will be here and then I'm always on Kesley's sessions as well. So don't worry, don't have to miss me. But you can see what's coming up for this month and you can sign up for those. I was talking about those videos. That's going to be right here where it currently says Academy. You'll be able to access those from right here. We'll come back to the knowledge base, but blogs, this is for those of you who like to learn by reading. We do have step-by-step instructions on projects here. Kind of a little tip and trick on what we're doing or issues that we're seeing. This article is probably the one that I reference the most when answering people on social media because we're going through this right now. We're going to talk about it in just a little bit. But we do have blogs on things like that, like what to do if you're going to have to shut your printer down because of something like a hurricane. All right, and then our knowledge base. So our knowledge base goes right along with our care team. Anytime you have a question or anytime you have an issue, often the answer is already written and here in our knowledge base. So if I have questions on our software, I can go to my Sawgrass. If I have some troubleshooting, I'm getting an error message or a jam code or lines in my print, often that's going to be found here underneath troubleshooting. And we even have that getting started section that has stuff like how to set your printer up by Wi-Fi and the things to check with that. So that getting started section is going to be another great one for you to go to. When you're getting started, we have tried to provide as much information as possible. But if you do want someone to assist you, that's where those onboarding sessions come in. And that's where our support team comes into in opening those tickets. All right. So we've talked about the fact that we have the 2-year warranty. We've talked about all of our learning options and then that lifetime support you get with your printer. But the other thing I really want to talk to you about is our software suite, because I think that is such a huge part of that Sawgrass advantage. So we're going to go ahead and click on My Sawgrass. You will see, I do this often and I've done it to you right now. I do have a survey that's live. please answer that if you will. It's about your printer, what products you make, and about bypass trays. So we do run those often, not too often. I don't want to bother you, but occasionally there's something that we want to get an answer right from you because we're never sure if what we're saying is exactly what works for you. So we always just want to make sure. All right. Okay, so this is the landing page for my Sawgrass. Now, you may have seen some older names. You may have seen our mates, Design Mate and Print Mate. We did change that all to the umbrella of my Sawgrass. And honestly, that's because that's how you think of it. You do think of your printer as your Sawgrass, and we want the software to be an extension of that. So with our printer, with our ink, with that lifetime support, and with that education, you are also going to get at least two pieces of software. In the US, you do get a third one. And then we do have our community as well. But the two big pieces of software you're going to get is design software. And then you also are going to get that print utility. So I'm going to talk about the design tool here, and then we'll talk about that print utility in just a little bit. But the design tool really, to me, exists for two types of customers. First, it's going to exist for someone who doesn't have a design software that they prefer to use. There are times where you need to type something or you just need to design something from scratch, and that's what our design tool is for. The other person that this is really for is for that person that wants to make sure that their print is printing in the size and the shape of whatever product you're pressing onto. So if I am making a holiday ornament, I can go in and I can choose that paw print, and I know that it's going to print the exact size for the paw print ornament, and it's also going to print the exact shape. So this is going to be very important for you to make sure that you're getting the print so that you can just line up that product with it. It makes pressing a lot easier when it prints the right size. And so that's one of the other reasons people will sometimes just go here and upload a file and upload something that's already finished, just so they can put it on that shape. Now, if you do need to design, our design tool does have everything you're going to commonly find. We do have designs available for you. You will notice that some of these designs do have a diamond on them. That's because we do have a subscription. So that's going to be that My Sawgrass Plus. It is that $19.95 per month or $199 per year. And with that, you're going to get access to all of our designs, all of our elements, all of our backgrounds. But don't worry, we have lots of free ones in here too. But by using our designs, you can get something like this great artwork. And then I'm going to resize this. And I can actually change the text. So I can go in and I can change something. Let's make sure this is one that will change. But I can go in and I can change this eat at your own risk to play at your own risk or whatever you want that to say, but you can change the words, you can change the colors. I can even go into this pumpkin if I wanted to and change out the shades of orange. Probably wouldn't do that with a pumpkin, but for something else, you may just want to change those colors up a little bit. We do also offer you the ability to pretty much design from scratch in here. We do have all of these elements. We have a graphic library full of just pieces and parts that you can use. We also have shapes that you can add. You can use these shapes as masks as well. And then we also have backgrounds. So you can do a solid background like I've done here, or we do have patterns. You can even create your own patterns. Now, you want to learn more about all the tools that we have available, That's quite easy. We do have sessions in here every week that do have more about those. We do have those YouTube videos as well, where you can find some content on designing. And then now there's little quick tips that will help you with this as well. But that's just a little bit about our design tool. Now, one of the things that we do have, and I said this is available for some of our users, but not all of them, our users in the United States do have a selling tool as well. So let me get over there. I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. I could put it in a special category as well. And then I'm going to hit continue. And that's going to take that over to where I could set this up for my store. Now, let me tell you a little bit about your store. So like I said, available right now only in the United States. With that store, you are putting things in a store that we've created for you. You are sharing links to the store or sharing links to the product. So I get asked all the time, is there a feed? Who's selling it? Well, you, as the store owner, are selling it. You're going to share those links on your social media with any mailing list that you have. And then when the order is placed, we process the order and send it right back to you. So you get to be both the seller and the producer. What we've learned from years of talking to customers is that you don't want your order going to someone else. You want it to be done by you. So that's exactly what we've done. So every product gets a name, it gets a description. You're going to notice that I can't spell. But you're also going to notice that you're in charge of the price. We do have a minimum price. That is a competitive minimum that's going to make sure that you get all of the money that you should be getting for the product. And then you can choose whether people customize. Customization is a huge part of everything sublimation. And so you actually can say it can be customized, and then you get to control exactly how much or how little someone changes in that product. You also can create a look, so it's going into your store on a nice little background, that little nice little lifestyle image. I'm going to go ahead and lock my layers there. And now I'm going to go in and tell it that this is my feature image. So I do have that available, and then I can post that for sale. Now, I do a lot of testing, so oftentimes my store has some stuff in it just for testing purposes, and it currently does. But I'm going to post this for sale in my store just so you can see what that looks like. And there's my store. I've made it so that if I were to share this, how do you share it? You click on the share button, and that's where you can share directly to Facebook, Pinterest, or to Twitter, now known as X. Or you can copy that link to paste it somewhere else. And then there's all of the items in my store. That's actually my studio. This is my store. Studio is anything that you're just making to print and press locally that's not going in your store. And then here's my store with everything in it that I would have for sale. Again, I can just click on this and get those sharing links to share with anyone. So that's that design tool that we have for you. That's also your market. So I call it the My Sawgrass store. So this is your My Sawgrass storefront. And then in just a little bit, we'll talk more about our print utility. All right. Okay, before I move any further, do we have any questions? Okay. So I took what Alex had told me and kind of what I felt on my own, and I've put together a list of what I call tips and tricks for anyone who is doing sublimation with a Sawgrass printer. Now, I said very early on that the onboarding program was something I started So that is near and dear to my heart. So the first tip I'm going to give you is if you are new, do an onboarding session. Onboarding sessions are going to be a great way for you to familiarize yourself quickly with the program. Gives you some references, some contacts as well to help you as you move forward with your journey. And so onboarding is definitely one of my first tips. My next tip is something that I see often, and that's people who panic when their ink says that it is low. So low ink does not mean empty ink. I recently went to a show. I got to go to Printing United. I was printing quite a bit all week long, and at some point, my ink went to low. I still had 20% left in the cartridge that said it was low. Sometimes it's going to register a little quickly, so don't panic when you see that low ink. You do not have to replace it until it says that it's used or it says that it is depleted. You normally are going to see used. You very seldom see depleted. But if you see either one of those, that's when you have to replace it. Do not replace it before that point. Keep those cartridges in there. And that expiration date of 2 years, it is good up until that expiration date. We do suggest that you change your ink. That's the only time we tell you to change it before it's empty or before it's used or depleted, is if it is showing as expired ink. You're looking at the dates and the dates are out. You do want to go ahead and replace it at that point. Okay, the next thing is where your printer is located is going to be very, very important. There's three things that I always like to warn people about. One is going to be you don't want your printer where it is touching other things. Front, back, top, bottom, of course it will. But top and the sides and the back, you do not want anything too close. Your printer needs to have some ventilation. It needs to have some airflow around it. So you don't want to put anything too close to the printer. I had a printer that if you sat anything on top of it, it would immediately throw an error message and that it was overheating. Even if it were just a piece of paper, it couldn't handle it. So always be careful when you put something on top of your printer. You really want to make sure that your printer has really good ventilation and that there's nothing really touching it on any side. This is also optimal. Our printer here is one where we're in a room that's internal to or interior to the building. There's not a lot of direct sunlight. Direct sunlight can also cause the printer to overheat. So that's your first two kind of things I'll say. How does the sun hit your printer? Is there too much sun that may cause too much heat? The other thing you want to be careful of is there anything too close to it that may cause it to overheat? And then the other thing, and this one is extremely important, is humidity. Humidity is very, very important. It's really good to have something to check humidity with in there. Humidity for the printer is going to be 40 to 60% is kind of that sweet spot. So not too dry and not too wet. Dry can actually impact your print quality and so can wet. So you want to keep that humidity somewhere from 40 to 60 in the room if possible. I think we see the biggest issues in winter where it gets dry because of heat being on in homes. And you may want to have a humidifier in the room with your printer. But that's just something to kind of keep an eye on and watch for. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. One of the biggest tips I can give you is do not use third-party cartridges in your printer. You know that it voids your warranty. You also would know that you no longer have the availability of our support team. So all of those things that are part of the Sawgrass experience and the Sawgrass package, that's all comes with using genuine ink in our printers. So all of that does go away if you are not using genuine ink. And then the other thing to remember is that, as I was saying earlier, we cannot guarantee how well that ink is going to work in your printer. Not the quality of the print, I can't guarantee that either, but whether that ink is going to be more likely to clog or whether that's going to damage the print head. So those are things that we say, do not use third-party ink. You do want to use genuine ink in your printer. Another thing to remember, and I said it earlier as well, keep that printer turned on so that the printer can do that maintenance cycle. I know it's kind of crazy that it does maintenance, but it keeps the ink moving. And if you're not printing often, it's going to protect it. Now, I do want to talk about hurricanes. I am in, as we said earlier, I'm in South Carolina. We got affected by Helene. Thankfully, not as much as a lot of people did because we are on the East Coast of the state. But we know a lot of people, I know a lot of people personally who still have their power out. And one of the things I'm seeing is people panicking because we tell you not to turn the printer off for an extended period of time. If you read my blog, it's going to tell you don't panic. Just as soon as you can, turn the printer back on. Don't be Rhonda. Rhonda last year had a test printer here in the office. Power went out during a hurricane and she didn't check it for 2 weeks to turn it back on. But I'll tell you, it was fine. When you are able to turn that printer back on as soon as possible, and when you turn it back on, I'll go ahead and print a nozzle check. If your nozzles are clogged, you can go ahead and start those head cleans and those head flushes, as you're going to see outlined in our knowledge base, or you can reach out to our care team as well. But don't worry, just turn it on as soon as you can. Before you evacuate, if possible, of course, move it somewhere that is higher ground in your house, somewhere that's going to be safe and away from windows. But whether we're talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, other reasons why your power may go out, or whether you just need to move your printer from point A to point B. If you're moving it from point A to point B, I always say last thing you unplug and pack, and first thing you unpack and plug back in. But as long as it's on most of the time, you're usually going to be fine. And then, of course, do projects. Even if you're someone who sells, occasionally make a t-shirt for your kid or a mug for your mom. Just do projects occasionally, even if you're not in your busy season, just to make sure that ink is flowing through the printer. All right, so here's my next point that I want to show you. I have already seen people talking about paper sizes in my survey that I'm currently running on bypass trays. So this is the main tray of my SG1000 printer. I'm going to make sure that you can see me well. So this is the main tray of my SG1000. If you are in the US, this is going to go for your 500 as well. The US model at 500 has the expandable tray as well. But you will notice that in this tray, there are these little green tabs. I'm going to push those in. And then my tray will expand. So this tray in the SG1000 will go anywhere from envelope, mug size paper, all the way up to 11 by 17. That tray in your 500 will expand as well up to 8.5 by 14. So legal paper here in the US. So you can take the tray when you expand it, make sure that you do put those tabs back in place. That's going to prevent that tray from sliding around on you. But you can do that and expand that tray, get as much out of that paper size as possible. And I'll show you a little bit more in the print utility in just a minute. Okay. So the last tip I want to leave you with is to make sure that you are using the Sawgrass print utility. The Sawgrass print utility, as I said earlier, we provide every user with two pieces of software. One is our design tool and our other is our print utility. That print utility is a must, no matter what program you're printing from, and it's compatible with them all. There are ways to print from wherever you want to print from, but you want to make sure you're using the print utility. Why? Because the print utility has profiles built into it. We do have color experts that we work with, and they have created profiles with us. So no matter what settings you choose between the product you are pressing onto, the color mode that you want to use, the paper brand that you're using as well, all of those things go into the profile. And our profiles are going to give you the best output for that particular product that you're using. That not only means that we adjust things like saturation and all of that for the product, it also means that we adjust the amount of ink that is laid down and how much ink and in what way it's laid down on that paper to go onto that product. That becomes very important. You're going to notice things like there's always ink left on the paper, but we maximize it so it's a small amount as possible. So we want to make sure that you have the profile that's going to work best for you. We've taken it one step further with our new Sawgrass print utility. So let me show you that. Okay, so this is a Sawgrass print utility. It is an application that can be opened. When you have your printer selected, you will see that you can actually, I'm going to close this and open another file real fast. Now I'm opening directly in the program by hitting the Create and Add button. I'm going to add my little bird friend. I was saying it's important to make the most out of your paper. So one of the things you can do with the print utility is you can put multiple jobs or multiples of one file up on the page. So whether it's different files or one file, you can multi those up on the page so that you're getting the most use out of that paper and as much out of that paper as possible. You're also going to see that we have presets. Presets are so that if you are new or if you're just not sure what to choose for a specific product that you're doing, you can go in and say, oh, I'm making a ceramic coaster, and it's going to change your settings to match what you need for a ceramic coaster. The only thing you still have to choose is you need to make sure that your paper size and your paper brand are selected. Everything else we take care of for you. There are things like this frosted glass that the settings may not be what you expect them to be, but that's okay. Those are the settings that we know are going to give you the best output on that particular product. And that's why we've done the settings that way, because we want this to work the best for you possible. The other thing that we have done with this software is it is extremely customizable. So always use the Sawgrass print utility. Always go in and check your settings. You want to make sure that you can measure in millimeters if you're in Europe. You want to make sure that if you want to crop to your image area, that you're choosing that. Things like closing your jobs after printing, that's a preference, but you can choose all of that here, and you can do all of your settings here to make sure that you're getting the best results possible. So that's kind of my gold standard of some tips, some things that I've learned from being here and being around sublimation. That's all I've got for today, but we do have a few minutes. If anyone has any questions they may want to ask me, just feel free to unmute and ask. All right, so Jennifer asked about getting set up for that onboarding session. Let me show you that on our website. So I'm going to go to sawgrassinc.com. Under my Learn menu, I'm going to go ahead and click on Get Started. And right at the top of that, you're going to see your onboarding sessions. You also see Set Up Your Printer. That's going to take you there too. But I just click on North America, and it looks like there are no sessions. There's actually, yeah, there's sessions for both tomorrow and Friday still available. You're just going to click on that time, confirm your time zone, and then you'll go in and just put in your information. All right. Yeah, so currently our past workshops can be found in the Academy. So under that same Learn menu, you'll see the Academy. You will need to create a login for that, and you'll see Learn with Sawgrass. So they're all going to be there. And then very soon, by the end of the month, I'm hoping I'm going to have them all up on our YouTube channel as well. All right. Any other questions? Well, hopefully this is helpful today. And thank you for joining us. Please come back next week. Kesley's got some great projects for you. And so you can come back and do some of those with her. Keep an eye out. I'm probably going to do a live in a couple of weeks on some things that are coming up. So we'll make sure and advertise that as well. Marianne, if you can unmute and just explain what you're looking for as far as mock-ups, because we do have designs that you can go.
Like in the first on the first software, you guys could do mockouts on the tumblers, and you could see how your project look. It will give you the 3D. On this
Yeah.
one,
Yeah, we don't have mock-ups. We have a preview. So there is a preview that's going to show you both the left side and the right side. I advocate every chance I get for adding the middle as well. I don't see 3D coming anytime soon because honestly, it didn't really work in the old program. It only worked on about 20 products. So it never was what it needed to be, unfortunately. So we went in a different direction for now. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you back next week with Kesley, and have a good weekend. Bye.